What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and I'd like to welcome you back to our discussion of the Mammoth Strength Challenge 5 Pro-Am, where we spotlight today Travis ORTMAYER. Ciao, homie. Welcome back to My Block's Strongest Man, where we bring strongman into the mainstream by discussing all of the latest strongman events in the greatest analytic detail that you'll find anywhere on YouTube. We also show you how to replicate some of those events at a smaller scale with objects all around you in your own home. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to this channel so you get notified of all of the latest videos that I release 4 times a week for your viewing pleasure. Make sure to comment below whether you agree or disagree with my videos. I love the engagement and I respond to every single comment. Now on to today's topic. So, Travis ORTMAYER, known as the Texas Stone Man, has actually decided to participate in the Mammoth Strength Challenge 5 Pro-Am, and there is not one person, competitor, or fan who isn't extremely excited to hear this news. Let's go over what the events are one more time so we can have a good idea of what we're dealing with here in terms of his prep. First of all, we have the overhead medley, which starts off with a 1 rep max 350-pound log, moving into a 350-pound axle for 1 rep, a Mauser block for 300 pounds 1 rep, and then a Viking press at 400 pounds AMRAP, as many reps as possible with the remaining time allowed. Moving into the deadlift medley, 60 seconds as well, a traditional 800-pound deadlift for 1 rep, followed by an 18-inch deadlift at 900 pounds for 1 rep, and then a deadlift of an SUV for as many reps as possible in the remainder of the 60 seconds. We then have 375 pounds per hand, farmers out for 50 feet, into an 800-pound frame back for 50 feet, 60-second time limit, straps allowed on the frame only. And then we move into the stone carry medley, 75-second time limit, and it includes a 350-pound natural stone, a 335-pound Atlas stone, a 350-pound Mauser block, a 400-pound Husafeld stone. And then, of course, we end the festivities with an arm-over-arm truck pull of an 18,000-pound truck over dirt. Not quite a smooth surface, so it is going to be challenging. Now, moving back into the Mammoth Strength Pro, let's have a look at where you should go to get the best details about that. And that would be here, the Facebook page. Look up Mammoth Strength Challenge 5 Pro-Am, and you'll get all of the details and the discussions that tell you everything to expect on January 23rd when this event happens. The other thing I need to remind you is how to watch it, right? It's a free live stream, so here's how you watch it. You want to go over to the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube page, as you see here, and then you will subscribe to their page, use the link in my description below, and go over to this page where you can set your reminder to watch live in 11 days this amazing contest. Now that you know how to watch it, let's jump into the last competitor that we're spotlighting of the 8 pros, and that is Travis ORTMAYER. So, here's what Travis has been up to in terms of his prep. So if we go here, he actually just posted 5 hours ago doing some blog pressing, and it's a little bit kind of opaque to figure out what's going on because he says, a little medley, I haven't trained the axle, and I've only gotten up to 260 on the log. So he's obviously talking about what he's done in the past, not right here, because here he is doing an axle. And as far as I can tell, that axle looks like it's about 345, so 345-pound bumper plates on each side and a 10, and then we're going to estimate a 55-pound axle. Then he's going into a Mauser block here, which he doesn't say what it weighs, so we're going to have to extrapolate a little bit, but the good news is he's doing a medley minus the Viking press portion that's going to be very similar to what's expected of him at the contest. That particular Mauser lift might be disallowed in competition because he kind of dropped it really quickly and didn't control it at the top, but like I said, he's doing medleys. I would say he could control that if he needed to. I just wish I knew what this log weighed, because like I said, the way I read this isn't the 260 log. He actually says a little under contest weight, and contest weight is 350, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Kind of moving back into the past a little bit more, we can see just one day ago he did what he's famous for, Atlas stones, right? So he does an Atlas run, and this run is starting off at 330, 4 stones up to 458. 458-pound stone is substantial. That's a very heavy stone. So he's doing what he's always been good at. And if you go through the comments, you get guys like Gabe Pena, I think Ivar Schmuckstellis was in here making comments. I think actually, yeah, there he is. Magnus Samuelsson even is saying like, hey, we just noticed you did that with no sleeves or tacky. Like, that's even crazy more impressive than people realize. And so big props on that. He's got a penguin, and if we go through a little more, we'll kind of see some of the other stuff he's working on. So here, he's doing overhead logs, but he's doing negative eccentric movements, and so I kind of got a little confused on how that translates. You know, I'm not a strongman, right? So I don't know how something like that would translate into a competition where you're doing the concentric movement. You're pressing the log overhead for 1 rep. So this is a negative, and he has like some other negatives he was doing in his training as well. Let's see. Yeah, here he's just doing some light presses, light for him, right? For someone at his level, very light. And here's some other stones that he was doing. This was 7 days ago. 2 quick reps with 330s. So, yeah, it just seems like he's doing a lot of stuff, especially with overhead pressing, that seems very relevant. If we go through a little more, here it is. We'll find some deadlifting. And here again, like it's really cool stuff he's doing with like negatives and pulleys and really innovate. Here he's doing more negatives. So like innovation is really cool. I just don't have enough knowledge to know if something like that's going to translate over into a contest where he won't be doing the movements that way. Like I just don't know, right? So here he's doing kind of some more log work, and I don't see what the weight is there. And as we move through, here he's doing a Jefferson deadlift, and this is now 705 he does. And then I believe if we go through, he has an axle in here somewhere as well. That's a sandbag lift that he did during a competition. Here, it looks like he's doing some logs as well, but you know, kind of from a rack, which again isn't the way it'll be done. This too, he's doing it kind of from a rack. His arms look great there. Like, it's an awesome image, but you know, it won't be done that way at the contest. Here he's doing kind of a really wide grip 705 deadlift, and if we scroll through a little bit more, squatting, heavy squats, but again, squats not part of the contest. This is a really old kind of stone carry from a long time ago that he posted recently, so I won't kind of count that. More Atlas stones, which again he's very famous for, kind of day of eating stuff. Here's some more. Here he's doing sumo deadlifting for 7 plates, and some more, pretty flexible. Maybe he's been doing DDP yoga like my blog Strongest Man. And then, let's see, I thought I saw an axle deadlift in here somewhere. At least I have it in my notes, so if we don't see it here, we'll assume that he did. Here's some more deadlifting again, like with a cable attachment. So I'm just kind of finding myself, that one's at 805, finding myself kind of lost as to how that translates over. Here too, like really innovative stuff, but like I don't know how that's going to translate over, and I'm really struggling. So wait a minute, you know what I do when I really struggle with understanding exactly how actual strongman training will affect an actual strongman during an actual strongman competition? You know what I do when that happens? I go over and ask my buddy Isaac over at Hunger Smash Fitness, because, you know, Isaac is an actual strongman who competes in actual strongman events and understands scientifically how actual strongman training affects actual strongmen when they're trying to implement them in slightly different actual strongman events. So Isaac, what do you think about this situation? How is Travis's training, unorthodox as it may be, going to translate over into what he's going to be asked to do at the Mammoth Terrain Challenge 5 Pro-Am?
Hey John, thanks for contacting me and asking me about those videos. So I took a look at them. Looks like what he's focusing on is the eccentric portion of the lift. So with the log, for example, he's starting with full extension and then he's slowly letting it down. So the benefits of doing eccentric training are that you can overload the muscle. You can lift about 1.75 times more eccentrically than you can concentrically. Any eccentric portion of a lift is any time that the muscle is lengthening is when it would be eccentric. So with the triceps specifically, since they're doing a lot of the work right here, they're eccentrically loaded, okay? Because they're controlling on the way down, same with the deltoid, same with everything else. So you can overload the muscle basically by putting your max weight that you could lift on the log and starting in the locked out position and trying to control it on the way down. Gravity's going to help it. It's going to come down one way or the other. You're fighting against it to control it. So eccentric training is one of the tools that a lot of high-level strongmen and powerlifters and everything will use to load to a high level a lot of the time and try and train that upper end there. I know Martin's Licious and I've heard Mark Bell talk about it. There's a bunch of them that I've talked about in the past. So that's some of the benefits, is you can overload the muscle and just train in that range. So you can still train super heavy without necessarily the same risk of injury as much as doing the full range of motion, or the risk of failing the lift as well. So with the log, that's kind of what he's focused on. He has it loaded heavily, as heavy as he can comfortably handle it. And he's focusing on controlling it on the way down. With the deadlift, it's a little bit different because he's doing more of a slow deadlift. It is eccentrically focused, but he's starting on the ground, and so he still has the concentric portion of the lift. So he's still lifting it off the ground. I'm not completely sure what all he has all the cables hooked up to. It looks like he has some sort of pulley system, so maybe it helps a little bit more off the ground and less as it gets higher. I know there are some systems that do that. That's kind of what I'm assuming, but without actually asking Travis, I'm not sure what he had it set for. But with his deadlifts, he's definitely focusing on that eccentric control at the same time. So he probably has it at a weight that he's comfortable lifting. Well, he's doing 851 for 2 reps, so he's comfortable doing that weight, but he's trying to do it really, really slowly and really control that downward motion. And so that especially, that's really focused on not only the eccentric portion, but the time under tension. So a lot of the times, if you want to build muscle, if you want to get stronger, it is about the weight lifted, but it's also about time under tension. So there's a bunch of different percentages and everything that you can look up. Thibodeau, Christian Thibodeau, has some really good videos on that about percentages of weight lifted and how to get these different peaks and everything else. But basically he's trying to prolong that time under tension. So that's what the idea behind a lot of the pause deadlifts or isometric hold deadlifts, stuff like that, is you're trying to prolong how long those muscles are holding it. And the idea behind that is just that, when you go into a competition, especially if you're going for reps, it's not always just one rep and done. And so if you're training it where you're doing multiple really slow reps, it's prolonging how long those muscles are actually fighting, how long they actually have to work. And there's a lot of benefits to that. It just helps improve control, improve overall strength, really works your grip, stuff like that. So he's mostly focused. It looks like he's mostly focused on the eccentric portion of the movement. So he's working on the upper end of what he can comfortably handle without having to fight through the concentric portion as well.
Well, wasn't that interesting? That was a lot of great information. You guys should really, if you have questions like this that you want a real strong man who's actually competed to answer for you, you guys should go over to Hunger Smash Fitness right now and subscribe. He's putting out great stuff about lifting, nutrition, workout plans, all kinds of awesome stuff that'll be of great benefit to you. And we're going to be doing a lot of collabs in the future, Isaac and I. So look forward to all that, where we kind of bring our communities together to give you even better content going forward and even more valuable stuff. So let me take what I had in my head and what Isaac just said and his wonderful explanation and give you where I think Travis ORTMAYER will place. So why don't we go back to my trusty spreadsheet and we'll have a look here. So in the overhead medley, yes, he's doing an overhead medley. He didn't say what the log weighs, so I kind of don't know, and I'm going to have to just assume he was talking about, like, sort of working on technique at a lower weight and working his way up, so I'm going to assume he's not at the level of these other guys who are lifting, most of them, way over what the contest expects of them. So I tried to, also another thing I did, I revamped this spreadsheet a bit because some of these guys were lifting multiple reps and some of them were doing 1 rep maxes. So I know this is like a really inexact science, but I used an online 1 rep max calculator to try to make the numbers slightly comparable to each other. So in terms of the overhead medley, the log portion, I have Marcus Crowder being the strongest on the log. If you equilibrate his 398 pounds by 4 reps out to 1 rep max, it's approximately 434. So I have him as being the strongest in the log. Bobby Thompson very close behind him. Wesley Claiborne right behind him. And he was doing Viper presses, so he might even be the strongest on the log. It's hard to tell, when comparing someone who's at a lower weight but doing a Viper press without a pause at the shoulders versus other guys who are pausing at the shoulders. So I have him 4th. Stan Carradine I have as the 4th best log presser. He's very strong on log. And then I have Trey Mitchell next, then Gabriel Pena next, and then Josh Hatfield, and then Travis, I have to put him last because of kind of, him not saying what the new weight is. And he said it was slightly under contest weight. All these other guys are above contest weight, so I'm going to accept Hatfield, who doesn't have a weight either. So I'm going to have Travis last there. On the axle portion, however, I think that Wesley Claiborne has the strongest axle lift that we've seen. I think Marcus Crowder is 2nd, Bobby Thompson 3rd, Trey Mitchell 4th. Travis, I think, has the 5th best axle press I've seen at what looked like 345 to us. So I think pretty decent there in the middle of the pack, followed by Josh Hatfield, followed by Gabriel Pena, and then Stan Carradine with no sort of evidence to go by. We can't assume that because his log is great on a neutral grip that his other overhead presses at the other grips will be good as well. Then on the Mauser portion of that medley, I think Gabriel Pena does the best. He's shown the heaviest Mauser lift in prep. I think Josh Hatfield is 2nd there, Marcus Crowder 3, Wesley Claiborne 4, Trey Mitchell 5, Bobby Thompson 6, and I think Travis is 7th here. Again, we saw him lift a Mauser block, but it didn't say what it weighed, so he might be better than this at Mauser, but we just don't know for the time being. And then Viking press, as I said, nobody but Marcus Crowder and Bobby Thompson are doing it at all, so I kind of had to take the average of these other 3 and assign that for Viking press for the other guys. So that being said, we kind of have this layout for the overhead medley for these competitors, and I'll show you in a moment how this kind of calculation I did translates over into the final placings. Moving over to the deadlift medley, I have Travis in 5th place with his 705 deadlift. 705 would merit worse than 5th, but I think he has more in him. So he's known for his deadlifts. I think he's not at his max that he's going to reach before the contest yet. And so I'm giving him a little bit more credit than 705 would deserve when compared to these other lifts that the other guys are doing. So I think he's 5th best on the traditional deadlift. I think he's number 1 best on the axle deadlift. I saw him do a 1,003-pound axle deadlift. I think it was 15 inches instead of 18. It may have been 18 inches, but it was 1,003 pounds, which is better than anybody else has done. He's right above Gabe Pena, who I think would be 2nd on the axle with 810 for 6 reps, which would be equal to about a 941-pound 1 rep max. Moving on to the car deadlift or the SUV deadlift, nobody's doing it. So again, I took averages. So taking where Travis is on his traditional deadlift and his 18-inch axle deadlift, I think that kind of puts him at around third for the car deadlift, barring any injuries that he's working through or anything like that. Moving on to the farmers and frame, I put him at sixth. I don't have any evidence of him prepping for either one, so I had to compare him with the other guys. Everyone else who I have here doing farmers, those 4 guys had to come out ahead of him because I have evidence. And then I just kind of put him a little less, kind of toward the bottom of the pack there. In terms of the stone carry medley, no evidence for Travis in terms of natural stone. He did do Atlas. Again, he didn't walk with them like he'll be expected to do at the contest, but he did a heavier stone than he'll have to lift at the contest, which is 335. His heaviest Atlas was 458, and he is very known and accomplished in the Atlas stone game, so I put him in second place, only behind Marcus Crowder in terms of that portion of the lift. We haven't seen him run with a Mauser or a Husafel or a natural stone, so I have him coming in overall third in the stone carry medley. Arm over arm truck pull, I put him in sixth. Again, no evidence for anybody except Trey and Josh Hatfield in arm over arm pulls. And so then if we go to my new predictions with taking into account the new post that Travis has put up and my kind of re-equilibrating approximate 1 rep maxes here, my predictions have changed a little bit. Everybody's still in the same place as they were, but with a little bit different point total. So here's what I have been talking about all along with all of my athlete spotlight videos up until now. So I had Wesley Claiborne first, Bobby Thompson second, Marcus Crowder third, Gabriel Pena and Josh Hatfield tying at fourth place, Trey Mitchell 6, Travis ORTMAYER 7, and Stanley Carradine 8. So my new predictions as of this latest analysis that I've given you is the same, except Gabriel Pena takes sole custody of fourth place now, knocking Josh Hatfield down to fifth, and the point totals are different. Wesley Claiborne and Bobby Thompson now end up tying for first place, so we're going to have to see, if that were to actually happen, what sort of kind of count back they would do. If you would force me now to pick one over the other, I'll pick Bobby Thompson because Wesley Claiborne is doing 2 record breakers as well as the main events and could have a little bit of fatigue. So if you force me to pick, I would say Bobby Thompson 1, Wesley Claiborne 2, Marcus Crowder 3, Gabriel Pena 4, Josh Hatfield 5, Trey Mitchell 6, Travis ORTMAYER, the focus of our spotlight today, 7th with 19 points, and Stan Carradine coming in 8th with 7 points, and that's mostly because we don't have a lot of evidence of what he can do on his other lifts, much more so than it is a deficiency in any area. So even the point spread from 1st to 7th is only 10 points, so I think this is going to be really competitive. We get a great show from all these guys. Travis ORTMAYER may post some more between now and then, and in fact, he posts pretty often. I think he will, and he may be coming up on some of these lifts, and if he does, I'll adjust what I've told you today. But if not, that's your standings. Your podium is Wesley Claiborne, Bobby Thompson, Marcus Crowder, with a possibility of Wesley and Bobby's flip-flopping, but still both on the podium. Thanks again for joining me here on my blog, Strongest Man, where you get the greatest, most in-depth, analytic analysis in the world of strongman. I'm very grateful for you joining me, and of course, until next time, ciao, homie. So if you like this video and want to learn more about any of the products I described during this video, make sure to check out the links in the description below. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.